10 sentences to do that. And my son or somebody of his generation would say, yeah, that's Google. And that's it. And he's expressed everything in just those 2 words. So maybe they're right and we're wrong. Who knows? But that's how it's become. And because it's become so rapid, you know, you press a button on your computer and your window doesn't open. The moment you press it, you say, this is rubbish, get it out, get me the new one. You want things to move faster. It used to take 7 days to book a call to New York in 1960s. Now I'll connect it from here while I'm sitting in this lovely audience. So once there is, you know, so much rapidity in our actions, in our movements, they feel they don't need to waste so much time in, you know, talking about a romance, how to woo a lady with poetry and flowers. Yeah, okay, that's it now, get on with it. You know, what do you want to say next? It's like that, let's move on. So there is a difference. And this content is now being patronized by the younger generation of India and patronized by people who are of the age between 18 and 35. And the number of people that exist in this country between 18 and 35 is about 350 million, which is larger than many populations of several countries put together.
Including America.
So, including America. So, you know, you have to listen to them.
You speak about the rapidity and the instant gratification, but also one change which I'd welcome your comments on is I find that America still has remnants of the studio system. You know, we have Warner Brothers with us here. India, I don't know, maybe yes.
And when the sea ebbed and went away and left this barren land, it left some of the salt portions behind. The salt shines in the moonlight, and it's beautiful. And now they have festivals, the Run of Kutch festival there, where they put up these beautiful tents, and the entire village comes up there. Everybody goes and, you know, spends night there. There are musical performances, and they're beautiful tents. Air-conditioned, bedroom, drawing room, hall, kitchen.
All in the tent?
All in the tent. It's fantastic. And they're all it's like a, you know, one huge village, and they all just come and live there for 10 or 12 days. Beautiful it is.
Any comments of the, you know, Gujaratis are they love their food. Any comments on the cuisine? Did you like the food?
Gujarati food is excellent. I'm sorry I'm not staying back for dinner tonight, but, you know, you could always pack some for me. I'll take it in my car. There are different areas, and that's really the beauty about the country and in Gujarat also. Each area has their own speciality. Different names, different, you know, it depends upon, you know, which part of, if you're in Surat, or if you're in Vadodara, you're in Kutch, everybody has their own delicacies, and it's fantastic. But in Ahmedabad, yes, there are 1 or 2 restaurants which are, one particular one I like, which is out in the open air. You sit on charpais and have khana. I don't know, perhaps some of you would know the name.
Yeah. I've been there.
What's it called?
Vishaka.
Vishaka. And there's another place which is on your way to the Run of Kutch. It's a small little, I mean, hardly 15 cottages made of mud. And it's very, huh? Yeah, probably, I forget the name now. But incredible food there. It's a small little, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a rest home or well, it's a hotel facility, but it's environment friendly. There's no steel or metal used. It's just mud, and all the cloth and everything is made from the cottage industries of Gujarat. And the food is cooked there in front of you, and it's a magnificent feeling. It's so quiet and peaceful. And the food there is excellent. So if you're visiting the Run of Kutch, please do visit this place.
It's a pity that you're not staying for dinner, but maybe the hotel will pack a...
Yeah, I'd love that.
But they've actually thought about all this. So the menu
Yeah, I
is
miss
a
my
global
lunch, so do pack a lot.
My wife, my mother, and my sons are all very jealous that I'm meeting you tonight. My late grandmother would have been so proud. So you've inspired at least 4 generations of Indians all over the world. To many, you're an icon. Who's your icon?
Firstly, I don't believe what you're saying.
Well, it is true.
But,
I promise you.
But yes, I limit my inspiration to my parents, my father and my mother. My father, as perhaps some of you know, a great literature, poet, writer, and greatly inspired by him. My mother, she was a Sikh. It was an intercaste marriage, very unusual for the city of Allahabad, where I was born, where intercaste marriages were absolute taboo. And that also a Sikh coming from what is now Pakistan. My mother was born in what is now Faisalabad in Lyalpur. She studied and graduated from Government College Lahore. My grandfather was a lawyer who practiced from Karachi. And for her to, get married to my father, who belonged to Allahabad, very traditional, very conservative. But there were many things that my father believed in, and I incorporated in my life, and it's always been an inspiration for me. Apart from all his poetry and all his writings, just the fact of who he was and how he portrayed life to me. Many a times when there would be, serious situations or situations when I felt I needed to talk to somebody, and I would go and talk and say, this is the problem, and there would always be a very simple answer. Man ka ho to acha, na ho to zyada acha. I studied in Sherwood College in Nainital, which is a missionary school. I was in boarding there. And every year we had an annual concert. And one of the years I won the Best Actor Cup, which was given by Mr. Jeffrey Kendall. Jeffrey Kendall, father-in-law of Shashi Kapoor. He used to travel all over India with his troupe called Shakespeareana, performing Shakespeare plays. And he had given a challenge cup for the best actor every year. And I won that cup the year before, and the next year I was again in their play, and it was, expected that I would win again. But a day or so before the show was to happen, I got measles and I was stopped from performing. And this was heartbreaking for me. So I was put in the infirmary in the school, and my father, and these are Founders Week events, and parents come up to see your children at that point of time. It's a great moment for us, my parents are going to come, I'm going to do this and that. And so my father came up and he just sat with me throughout the time. I could hear what was going on in the theater. The play that I was supposed to be working on, our school teacher who was training us for the play actually played that role eventually. Here we have a Sherwoodian, so he would know much about what I'm saying. So Millman Hall was down there, and the infirmary was up here. So while you sat there in the silence, you could hear what was happening there, and it's heartbreaking. But he sat with me and he gave me this lesson. Man ka ho to acha, na ho to zyada acha. If things happen according to your wish, good. If they do not, it's better. I said, I don't understand this. How can it be better? Then he said कि अगर तुम्हारे मन का नहीं हो रहा है, तो ईश्वर के मन का हो रहा है. और ईश्वर जो है, वो हमेशा तुम्हारा अच्छा चाहेगा. If things don't happen according to your wish, it's happening according to the wish of the Almighty, and the Almighty will always want the best. So that's something that I've always lived with. There are many times when you face hurdles in life, and you say, okay, man ka nahi ho raha अच्छा है, na ho zyada अच्छा है. Yes, he has been my inspiration, and I live with his works and his books, and I still, there are many regrets. I regret not having spent enough time. I did spend a lot of time. And when he passed away, I was devastated. But one of my close friends came and told me, you should consider yourself very fortunate. Your father has been with you for 62 years. He passed away when I was 62. There are many of us here who lost their fathers and didn't have this kind of a time span. Most of them 20, 30 years, and we've lost them. So I thought that that was a good point to incorporate. But yes, I keep reading his poetry and I keep finding new meaning to it, and I keep finding some kind of a solution of life. So those have been my inspiration. My mother was a very strong-willed person. She very protective about us. She was very beautiful, and we were always attracted to her, as were many others. And after she graduated in Lahore, she started teaching there. And I was amazed that a child of one of the students who studied there in Lahore sent me a photograph of my mother when she was teaching in Lahore and wrote a huge note saying, "I am so-and-so. My mother was a student when your mother used to teach us here." And we used to, and my mother tells me that we used to wait for, her name was Tej Kaur Suri, so we used to wait for Mrs. Suri to come to the university, because every time she passed the corridor, we could smell her perfume. And we knew that she had already entered there. So, very strong-willed person, very protective of us as children, and gave a lot of willpower to us. So these have been my inspirations.
This actually leads right into my next question. So you're an exemplary family man, an ideal son, a good husband, a great father, affectionate father-in-law, adoring grandfather. This despite your busy schedule, and I know you have to go for a dubbing right after this, which is why you're not being able to stay for dinner. How do you find the time? How do you fit everything in?
You just fit it in. I don't know. I have to be here at 7 o'clock, so I program myself to leave my place at 6. And if I reach here by 6:30, then I drive around the Bandra Kurla complex to make sure that I'm not there ahead of time. It fits in actually. I think if you schedule your brain as this is what I have to do, and I really have no formula. I just...
But also fitting the family, I find a lot of us, particularly in cities like Bombay, where we're obsessed with career and work, and somehow or the other we manage to fit that. And the family
Well,
gets
one of the
upset.
convenient things is that all of us stay together. We're all under one house, under one roof. So, which is, an old traditional Indian thought. Fast disappearing in some houses, I hear these days. But it's very convenient. We all live together. And I think communication is very important. I always insist that we keep communicating. Whether it's mobile, and it's so convenient today, send a BBM message or a SMS or just make a call. It's important to know where you are, what you're doing. It just has a sense of feeling of togetherness. Boarding a flight, taken off, landed here, going to the hotel. These are simple little things, but it just makes you feel that you're with them and that they're thinking about you, even though they may be traveling 8 hours to London or 12 hours to New York. But it's a practice that, I've initiated in the home. And I think it's nice to do that. I know in the West, this culture is not prevalent. In the West, the moment the young man gets to 18, he tells mom and dad, okay, see ya, I'm off, and off he goes. But I think our tradition is that we all want to live. When I was 18, my only concern was how am I going to get a job as soon as possible to be able to look after my father. Sometimes I talk to the youngsters in the Western world and say, I had a fantastic weekend. I actually met my dad after 8 years, and it was great. And we can't seem to understand that. Abhishek and Aishwarya were on on Oprah's program, Oprah Winfrey's program, some time back. And she asked Abhishek a question. She said, you know, I believe all of you stay under one roof with your father and your mother and everybody. How does that work? So Abhishek said, how do you live, Oprah? She says, oh no, I live on my own and my parents are somewhere else. And Abhishek says, and how does that work? So there are, you know, cultural differences which we follow, and they follow something else. But sometimes when you live abroad, and I'm sure many non-resident Indians who live abroad face this thing. I must narrate an incident that happened which was quite interesting. I made a film called Bagban, which is the story of a family, a husband and wife. And they have 3 sons. And the man has now reached his retiring age. He's going to retire, and the wife asks him, what are you going to do? He says, I don't have a problem. I have 3 sons, and, you know, we'll go and live with them. And that's how we will spend the rest of our lives together. And every time he asks one of his sons, you know, I'm going to be retiring in a month's time, so your mother and me will be coming to stay with you. And then it'll be nice if you can, you know, we were all together again. And so there are some obstacles that each son keeps picking out. You know, my house is very small, and my wife is, you know, doing a job, and, you know, maybe the effect that the film had on them. So this kind of explains the, you know, the differences in cultures, and to say whether, you know, culturally, whether the West will be able to produce products which will match our culture, that remains to be seen. I was very keen to see how Gatsby would fare in India, because it's more a social drama. And social dramas from West, sometimes because of their cultural differences, don't work very well here. What works here is, you know, Iron Man and Star Trek, and, you know, the more fantasized films. Titanic worked. It was a typical Indian story of a poor boy falling in love with this rich woman, and how it ended in a tragedy. So, you know, those are some of the things that we hope that, you know, these 2 cultures, these film cultures at least, can come together in the years to come. We need to have their kind of, we need their kind of technology, which we do not have. We need their marketing, their system of accountability, our accountability, and as Anne had mentioned in her speech about IPR and the destruction of it that is happening, we don't really get the true value and worth of what all our creative artists have worked so hard for. Somebody sits and makes, you know, pirated copies and making a fortune, whereas the hard work is done by the people who actually made the film. So these things need to be checked. Overseas, you know, you get caught pirating something, you're finished for life. And that's how strict the punishment is.
So you've accomplished so much professionally, personally. You won so much adulation, so many accolades, love, respect. What is the one thing that Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, the Big B, still desires?
Still what?
Still desires.
I'd like to be let off from here as soon as possible so I can go home and get some dinner.
We'll offer you dinner.
Really, I don't believe what you say, that, you know, you have received so much. Yes, I'm very grateful to the love and affection that the people of this country have given me, and I shall be eternally indebted to them. But I still feel that, you know, there's a lot to be done. There's lots of work that needs to be done, and many avenues which are yet to be explored. Need to improve myself much more. And I hope that, you know, that my body responds to the kind of work that I want to keep doing.
You were very concerned with your tweet in last night.
Yeah, these are little glitches that one has to face at the age of 71, so excusable.
So with a very heavy heart, I must bring this interview to a close.
Thank you.
We thank you for being here with us tonight. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We would now like to extend a very special thank you to our title sponsor, Siddhi Tech Home Private Limited, a well-known and reputed name in